One of the most bestest books I've ever read is called Influence, and it's by a guy named Robert Cialdini, something like that. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. Cialdini, something along those lines. Anyway, it's a book that you may have heard of if you've studied any kind of marketing or whatever. It's very popular for that purpose because that is the purpose for which it was written. It sort of outlines in particular, I want to say 7 different principles of marketing that are either used on you or that you can use to sell stuff. But that is not at all the reason why it's one of the most important books I've ever read. I mean, that stuff's interesting and all that. But in particular, there's a section in there where they talk about commitment and consistency, the hobgoblin of little minds, for those of you who know. There's a section in there where, to illustrate the power of commitment in advertising, they talk about how I want to say it was the Chinese, would deal with prisoners of war, where essentially what they would do is they would take American soldiers and get them to admit that, in fact, actually, I might have learned this in my Psychology 101 class now that I'm thinking about it. But either way, it's the same concept. Anyway, they would get you to admit that America wasn't the most perfect country in the whole universe, and then they would get you to write a paper on the things that could be improved, what's wrong with it and what could be better. And you'd sign your name on it and go through a process essentially where they would get you to go further and further down the line, and eventually were able to fully convert people, in some cases without any sort of torture or deprivation or anything like that. They just treat you nicely, and well, actually, I don't know if that's true. I could be making that up. Anyway, point of the matter is, once a month, every month, among other things, but this is the most obvious one. I think it's the first Sunday of every month. In the Mormon Church, you're supposed to starve yourself for 2 meals and then go to church and get up in front of all of your friends and family and say that you believe in the church. And if you're struggling with believing in the church, if you're like, I don't know if this is real, the solution to that problem is to go bear your testimony. They'll specifically tell you that. Which, basically, again, if you go back and you should read that book, and you can look into this more, but pretty much what we know is that if you get all of your friends and family together and all of them tell you to believe a certain thing, and then you starve yourself and you get up in front of all of them and you say that you believe that thing, you will find yourself believing that thing whether you did before or not. That's just the fact of the matter. And again, that wasn't the only thing for me, but as I started to go through the list of things, I started to figure out that, yes, there were things that I was learning in that environment that I still think are true to this day, but the only reason that I accepted all of it as a totality, really came down to a whole series of things that, if you look up any other cult, that's, pretty much the same exact mechanics were used to influence you socially. So I guess moral of the story is, if any group of people or anybody tells you to starve yourself and then say that you believe something in front of all of them, even if you don't, you should make sure that you do believe the thing before you do that, because you'll end up believing it whether you wanted to or not. There's so many people in my life who will not like that I am saying this stuff, and will probably come up with lots of rationalizations. But actually, much more likely, nobody that I know will even watch this, because I'm pretty sure all of the views on all of my videos are mine when I go back to look at them and see if anyone's viewed them yet. So, anyway, that's tonight's message. I'm sorry, Mom. I love you.